loss is a heartbreaking part of their fertility journey. October is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, a month for remembering and a month for awareness. Kia ora koutou. I'm Lydia Hemingway and I'm the CEO of Fertility New Zealand. Thank you for joining us tonight and welcome to the Fertility New Zealand webinar series. Fertility New Zealand walks alongside all people facing fertility challenges. We do this by providing support, information and advocacy. I encourage you to jump onto our website and check out our range of services and connect with us on social media. Tonight, I'm so pleased to introduce you to Melanie, Tarrant and Jo Barnett, who are our wonderful guest presenters. First up will be Melanie, who is the Chairperson of SANZ. Melanie is going to talk with us about what SANZ is, the work they do and why this is so important. Next up will be Jo, a medical herbalist who has specialised in fertility, preconception and reproductive health for over 20 years. Jo is going to talk to us about self-care through times of loss. To finish, we'll have some time for questions. Pop them in the chat or comments as you're watching and we'll go through them with Melanie and Jo towards the end. I really hope you enjoy the webinar, that it's valuable for you. Over to you, Melanie.
Thanks, Lydia. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Melanie Tarrant tōku ingoa, kei o te tahi aho. Hi everyone, my name is Melanie and I am the chair of SANZ New Zealand. Thank you so much to Lydia and Fertility New Zealand for giving me the opportunity to kōrero with you all tonight. And it feels particularly pertinent given that it is during Baby Loss Awareness Month. Thanks, Kate. Next slide, please. So, to begin with, I want to acknowledge the whānau who are watching this, who have experienced a loss. To lose a baby at any stage of pregnancy or after birth is heartbreaking, and we hoped we would have had a lifetime of memories with them. So if this is you, I am so very sorry for your loss. So a little bit about my story. So I have 4 daughters who are here with me, but I have had 8 pregnancies. So we had our first 3 girls with no problem. And then I lost my daughter Kate in 2011 at 19 weeks due to a knot in her cord. And then in December that year, we had a miscarriage at 8 weeks. In early 2012, we had another miscarriage at 6 weeks. And later that year, we lost our son, Zach, at 27 weeks due to a placental abruption. But we did then go on to have our 4th daughter. And so this journey led me to SANZ. So who are we and what do we do? So SANZ is a voluntary parent-run non-profit organisation that provides meaningful support to bereaved whānau who have experienced the death of a baby. So we have over 20 groups across Aotearoa, from Whangarei down to North Otago, and we are just in the process of having a group set up in Dunedin. We offer empathy and understanding to bereaved whānau who have lost a baby at any stage of pregnancy, at birth, as a newborn, or in infancy, and for any reason. We are not trained counsellors and we do not give professional advice, but we do offer the opportunity and the environment to share experiences, to kōrero and to listen. So we provide the bulk of baby loss support in Aotearoa. We provide one-on-one support, either online, in person, or on the phone. We run support groups online or in person. We educate health and caring professionals and students. We don't receive any funding for this mahi, but the Ministry of Health does print the support packs that bereaved whānau receive. So these are SAN's core values: support, understanding, empathy, we're inclusive and non-judgmental. And I just want to touch on the last two values. So being inclusive is welcoming any parent or whānau who have experienced the death of a baby at any time. The name SANS used to be capitalised and stood for Stillbirth and Neonatal Death Support. But we have moved away from that, and we welcome any bereaved whānau at any stage of loss. Our last core value is that we are non-judgmental. So we offer support and information no matter how your baby died. So we support all whānau grieving the loss of a baby, whether it was miscarriage, stillbirth, neonatal death, or ending a pregnancy. So I'm going to talk about what we do at SANS New Zealand at a national level, and then what our groups do at a local level. So SANS New Zealand has support packs that bereaved whānau should receive in the hospital. So this is made up of 6 pamphlets covering the next few days, planning a funeral, transportation of baby, fathers, parents, sibling, and grandparent grief. We have a support pamphlet on early loss, and many of our groups supply these to their local Te Whatu Ora areas. So it covers the early days, grief, and thinking about trying again. We have a closed Facebook page for bereaved whānau, for grandparents, and for dads. Our closed bereaved whānau page has over 3,000 members, and it's an incredibly supportive space to share your journey and to ask questions. We offer 2 online monthly support meetings. The first one is open to everybody grieving the loss of a baby, and this is on the last Thursday of every month. We also have another one for those bereaved parents who have no living children, and this is on the second Wednesday of every month. So to join these, you need to email our SANS secretary at secretary@sans.org.nz to request the link to join. For the past 3 years, SANS New Zealand, in conjunction with Vicky Culling, have run 3 lots of 6-weekly online bereavement education to midwifery students for free. This is an hour webinar, and each week a different topic is covered, such as postmortem, early loss, and grief and baby loss. Bereaved whānau who have experience in the topic are on the webinar, and students are able to listen to the experiences of these whānau and to ask them questions. The overwhelming feedback we get from students is how valuable this education is, and for them to be able to hear the bereaved parent voice. And lastly, we always advocate for research where we can. For example, last year we were involved in the bereaved parent survey commissioned by the Ministry of Health. We are currently also working with the Ministry of Health on the development of a national bereavement care pathway. This will ensure a consistent standard of care is offered to all bereaved parents and whānau experiencing pregnancy and infant loss in Aotearoa. Thanks, Kate. So our SANS website, you can find this at www.sans.org.nz. Here you can find lots of information and where you can get support. So you'll find information about memory making, getting through those first few weeks, and where to access support both online and in person across the motu. You'll find information about our biannual SANS conference. So every 2 years we bring together health professionals, our SANS volunteers and bereaved whānau to come together and connect and learn from each other. And you will also find information about Baby Loss Awareness Week. So Baby Loss Awareness Week takes place every year from the 9th to the 15th of October. It's an opportunity for us to educate the public and shine a light on the often not spoken about topic of baby loss. So we educate the public through social media. So I'll just get you to move forward one. Thanks, Kate. I just wanted to show you an example of the sort of how we educate the public. So this is one of the tiles that we had from Baby Loss Awareness Week, just giving statistics for the loss above 20 weeks gestation and up to 27 days. In New Zealand, on average, 600 babies die, and that is the equivalent of 21 empty classrooms. And just the next one forward. Thanks, Kate. Here's our one on early loss, so losses prior to 20 weeks. So statistics aren't kept for this in New Zealand, but the Ministry of Health estimates that 1 to 2 of every 10 pregnancies results in a loss prior to 20 weeks. So we work that out to be up to 14,750 babies. And so that equates to the population of Queenstown. So those are just 2 examples of us trying to educate the public on statistics around baby loss. Okay, if we can just go back, Kate, to where we were before. Thank you. So our SANS groups hold memorial events throughout this week. And this special week culminates with the Global Wave of Light, which is an international celebration that takes place on the 15th of October, International Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. On this day, bereaved parents, whānau and friends around the world light a candle at 7 o'clock in memory of their precious baby or babies. So we begin that wave of light in Aotearoa, setting off a continuous wave of light and aroha that wraps around the globe. And then I'll just get you to move past those 2 tiles. Thank you, Kate. So for the last 3 years, SANS New Zealand has also organised for monuments to be lit up pink and blue or purple for Baby Loss Awareness Week. And so we began this in 2021 and we had 18 monuments, and this year we were up to 35. So here are some examples from around Aotearoa. So top right hand corner is Greymouth, and then below that is Nelson Cathedral. Below that, bottom right, is Eden Park. To the left of that is obviously the Love Taupo sign. And then above that one is the Stratford Clock. And above that is the Holy Trinity Church in Auckland. So it's been great how many small towns in Aotearoa have been really keen to hop on board and light up their monuments and support their communities, which has been really great. So good. Next one, thanks, Kate. So at a region, what do we do at a regional level? So our groups offer a variety of support. So So each group is different in terms of what they're able to do due to us all being volunteers. So some groups do some of this and some groups do all of this. And so please contact your local group to see what they do. So our groups offer support meetings. So this can be either online or in person. And this is a fantastic opportunity to be in a safe space and to connect and meet other bereaved whānau and to share your experience. They offer one-on-one support that can either be on the phone or an in-person visit. Also, we can offer support through email and Facebook. They offer resources such as the support packs that I previously talked about. Some groups offer books, and that can be really supportive in terms of reading about grief and loss and other people's experience. Groups supply resources to hospitals and maternity units to support bereaved whānau. And these can include early loss packs, later loss memory boxes, inkless hand and footprint kits, knitting, blankets, and memory boxes, just to name a few of the resources that they can provide. In some groups we have, they do monthly newsletters and remembrance events throughout the year. And I just want to let everybody know about this fantastic website called Fertility. So this website was developed by the Life Events team at Internal Affairs here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So that with the aim to provide information to bereaved parents, families and whānau when a baby dies. So for many years, it was difficult to find any information online about baby loss. And despite many requests and suggestions to various government agencies to include such information on their websites, there was a general reluctance to do so. But a chance coffee conversation resulted in this wonderful website being put together. And it is a wealth of information on a wide range of baby loss and child loss topics. So when you go into this website, along the top will be the different types of baby loss. So there'll be miscarriage, stillbirth, neonatal death, etc. So you just click on whatever situation relates to you, and they will, and it'll take you to the place that has all the information about for you with your legal requirements, the financial support, the coronial process, etc. So it's a fantastic resource. And Whitu Rangatia means return to the stars. Thanks, Kate. And I would just like to finish with a whakatauki. He iti rā, he iti mapihi pounumu. It may be small, but it is treasured. Kia ora. And I'm just going to hand over to Jo.
There, my name's Jo Barnett. I'm a medical herbalist. I specialise in fertility, reproductive health and preconception care. I also qualified as a pharmacist back in 1994, which has been a really useful background for the work that I'm doing. I'm also a board advisor for Fertility New Zealand. And my combination of skills as a medical herbalist, a pharmacist, and my own personal experiences with miscarriage equips me to provide valuable guidance, hopefully, and support to those who are seeking to create their families. I'm committed to keeping updated with the latest research and scientific advancements in this field as well. Fertility and reproductive health are deeply personal and often challenging areas, and couples and individuals facing these challenges really need someone to listen to them and help advocate and guide them through these difficult times. I mean, that might not be for everybody, but I find that, that for a lot of people, that's really important. I often liken this work to playing detective to try and figure out the most helpful approaches for each couple as a vital part of guiding them towards their dreams of building their own families. Next slide, Kate. Thank you. So experiencing a miscarriage can be really emotionally and physically challenging for both partners. And I think it's really important to remember that males are also affected as well. It's their dreams, everything that's changed too. It's crucial to prioritize self-care and support each other through this tricky time. But with heightened emotions and grief, it's often really, really difficult to know where to even start. So I thought I'd put together a few ideas on what might help both partners to focus on during this time. Not that all of them will appeal to everyone, but hopefully there are at least a couple of things in there that you feel might be quite helpful for you. So first thing, open communication, always a good one. Encourage open and honest conversations about your feelings, your hopes and your fears. Share your experiences with each other to foster a strong emotional connection. Sometimes people find speaking to a counsellor, a therapist, or various support groups that specialise in pregnancy loss helpful. And professional guidance can really help both partners to navigate through the grief and the difficult emotions. If you can, take some time off work. Both of you would be great, but at least for the person who's suffered from the miscarriage, or at least have a break from your daily responsibilities, just so you can process your emotions and grief together. Rest is really, really essential for emotional healing and well-being. Create a memorial. So some couples find comfort in creating a memorial for the lost pregnancy. This might involve planting a tree, keeping a journal, or even holding a little ceremony to say goodbye. Always remember too to look after your physical health. So that means trying to eat well, stay hydrated, and engage in light exercise if it's recommended by a healthcare professional. And we'll talk about a wee bit more about those sort of things shortly. Try and rest. Grief is exhausting. Miscarrying is exhausting. So make sure you're trying to get enough sleep and rest, and really, really prioritize that. And if you're really struggling to sleep, a naturopath or herbalist can offer you some support if you do need that. Limit stress. Tricky one. Try and avoid unnecessary stresses and make relaxation a priority. Some people find meditation helpful, others deep breathing, yoga, Pilates, anything like that. You can do it together or individually. And lean on loved ones. Connect with your friends and family who can provide emotional support. And please don't hesitate to ask for help when you need it. And often you'll find as you start talking about your experiences, other people will talk about their experiences as well, which really helps to build that connection. And it's also really important to recognize that grieving can be a massive roller coaster of emotions. So allow yourself to feel what you're feeling without judgment or pressure. Grief can impact intimacy, so try to communicate about your needs and emotions in this area. Understand that it's okay if you need time to heal before any resuming physical intimacy. Others find, engaging in creative activities quite helpful, like writing, painting, journaling, crafting. It can be quite a positive outlet for your emotions. And just be kind to yourself. There's no right way to grieve, and healing does take time. Try and really avoid self-blame and criticism, and if I'd done this or if I hadn't done that, because it doesn't help. Set boundaries. Be mindful of your limitations and set boundaries with others if you need to. You might find that you prefer space or time alone so you can just process things. And then plan for the future. While it's really important to grieve the loss, also discuss your plans and hopes for the future. And this can help, again, provide a bit more of a sense of purpose and optimism. And seek guidance from health practitioners. As you move through the grief, you might get to a point where you start to build a health support team. It's a really great starting point is to see a naturopath or herbalist, preferably somebody who does specialize in the area of fertility or pregnancy loss, so they can help you to navigate through the next months ahead. Give you an indication of what testing might be useful. And we do like to work with medical practitioners, so it will be your GP or your specialist, depending on what sort of support you build up. So as you start to look ahead, You might ask, what next? So in New Zealand, you need to have 3 miscarriages before you're allowed to do further testing, like blood testing and that kind of thing. Personally, and I'm sure for a lot of you, that is really confronting and quite painful. So for many couples or even individuals, part of moving through this process is to wonder, what can I do? What's next? How do I reduce the risk of this happening again? Natural remedies and naturopathic concepts can be really useful to complement the emotional and physical support for couples after a miscarriage, as well as in preparing for future pregnancies. Keep in mind, though, that while these remedies are useful and supportive, we really advocate that you seek the advice and support of a specialist naturopath or herbalist and, work in with your medical team. We really want to work together to get the best outcome for you guys. So some natural approaches that you can just sort of do at home, I guess. Things like herb teas, chamomile, peppermint, lavender, lemon balm can all help to promote relaxation and reduce feelings of stress and low-grade anxiety. So, putting your feet up and sipping a strong hot cup of herbal tea can be quite comforting. Others like aromatherapy. So, essential oils like lavender, rose, frankincense can all be used to promote relaxation and emotional healing. You can use it in a diffuser, or add a few drops to a warm bath, or even consider looking for an aromatherapy massage. Others find acupuncture really helpful. It provides, physical relief and a lot of support as well. And it gives you an excuse to lie down for an hour and relax. Nutritional support, again, often people will blow out with what they're eating and have some drinks, and that's fine, right? But then, there comes a point where you need to get back into eating well. So having a really balanced, ideally Mediterranean style diet with lots of vegetables, whole grains, and good quality protein with each meal can really help to support your overall health and well-being and recovery. Supplements. So depending again on individual health needs, there's lots of really good supplements you can use. But as you can see, I do emphasize the good quality aspect. And again, I really think it's important to get some advice about what to take, because you can start taking a bit of this and a bit of that and it gets all kind of messy. And also you can sort of take, you might end up taking too much zinc or too much vitamin D, more than you need. So it's really good to get some advice there. There's also lots of herbs that you can use to help with the physical and emotional recovery after a miscarriage again. And again, it's best to get the advice of a herbalist or naturopath for that as well. Exercise is great for, in most instances. So start off gently. Walking, swimming can help boost your mood, improve your circulation, and reduce stress. And again, a massage as well is a really lovely thing to do. And if someone wants to give you something, or that to help you, to support you, asking for a massage is always really nice. There are lots of good community and supports group, as Mel was talked about with SANS and Fertility New Zealand. So again, talking to Fertility New Zealand can help. They can help sort of guide you out to find groups in your area. Spending time in nature is always a good one as well. It can provide solace and a sense of peace. So you might walk, you might go for a hike, do some gardening, or just sit in a garden. All of these things can be really soothing. And then just really focus on encouraging good sleep habits. Leave your phone in another room. Try and have a nice, consistent sleep schedule, and create a really nice, cozy sleep environment to help you as well. Again, healing after a miscarriage is really personal. What works for one person or one couple may not work for another, and it's just trying to figure out what is going to be the best thing for you guys. So a few facts and figures. About 15% of all clinically recognised pregnancies result in a miscarriage. And recurrent pregnancy loss is when you have suffered 3 or more miscarriages, which accounts for about 1 to 3% of all women who are trying to conceive. It's estimated then that 85% of first trimester losses are due to chromosomal abnormalities. We tend to focus, particularly in that instance, really focus on a good 3 to 6 months of preconception care before the next attempt at conception to help reduce the risk of repeated losses. But I'll talk a little bit more about this in the next slides. Other factors, that can be implicated here are male factors. So some reports are suggesting that at least 50% of miscarriages are due to male factors. Obviously, insufficient progesterone is really common. There's often autoimmune problems, like autoimmune thyroid disease, for example, is quite a big one. Clotting factors like antiphospholipid or anticardiolipin antibodies. Gynecological infections are really common, and it's quite hard to test for those. Uncontrolled diabetes or erratic blood sugar levels, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. Cervical incompetence, and any uterine and structural abnormalities, like if you've got endometriosis or adenomyosis or Asherman syndrome, for example, and also oxidative stress, which again I'll talk about in a little bit as well. So I think at this point, I just want to say the next part of the talk tonight is just talking about, I'm sort of going to talk about implantation and placentation, and then just a wee bit more about why things might happen and a wee bit more about what you could do. Some people might not be ready for this yet. So look, honestly, you can drop out now and come back and listen, because it will be saved on YouTube or on the Fertility New Zealand website. So you can come back and listen when you're ready, but I will go on anyway and see how you go. So implantation is a really complex and intricate dance between the embryo and the endometrium, with both carrying significant responsibility for successful and complete implantation. So the embryo contributes the genetic and the epigenetic influences, as well as the mitochondrial capacity of both the mother and the father. And I'll talk about this in a little bit as well. So these factors are determined at conception and are wholly influenced by the health of the egg and the sperm. Hence that preconception care that I've already talked about, because you can really optimize your sperm and your egg health, and that does increase the chances of a successful implantation. Next slide, Kate, please. And then the role of the endometrium. So that's the lining of the uterus. So the endometrium contributes progesterone and estrogen signaling, as well as immune and inflammation modulation. So that's balancing things out, and blood flow and clotting factors. It relies on all of these factors for successful implantation. So this, I think it's a really complex thing that happens. It's quite fascinating. But the success of this process is vital. So any alterations in the endometrial physiology or the embryonic capacity may affect the success of the implantation, increase the miscarriage risk, and of course, pregnancy and postpartum outcomes for mother and baby as well. And a lot of third trimester complications result from a dysfunctional implantation and early placentation. An implantation will occur usually before a woman knows she's pregnant, but it's also a time when you can have a bit of a positive impact on that pregnancy outcome, again, by that 3 to 4 months of preconception care beforehand. So why, you're probably thinking to me, why is the quality of that implantation so important? Because inadequate implantation can lead to a chemical pregnancy, which I'm sure a lot of you may have experienced or heard of, where you get inadequate amounts of HCG levels showing up in your bloods, and a period usually comes within about a week of when you would have expected your period in the first place. Although sometimes a miscarriage does occur later in the first trimester. Partial implantation leads to an increased risk of preeclampsia and intrauterine growth restriction. That's usually in that 3rd trimester. And then a complete implantation will typically result in a successful live birth. So in order for adequate implantation to occur, we really want good endometrial blood flow facilitated by the spiral arterioles, which are the blood vessels that grow through the endometrium in response to progesterone every month. And we want really good, strong blood vessel development potential, and we don't want any clotting factors like high homocysteine or thrombophilias that can compromise the development of these blood vessels, because they're so important. And these are the kind of things that we look into to see if there are any particular issues for couples. And then next question, what is placentation? I didn't know. I hadn't heard of this phrase until about 5 years ago. I think it's quite cool. So placentation is the establishment of a fully functioning placenta in the 1st trimester. And of course, it's really essential for a healthy, viable pregnancy. The placenta can be considered as an additional organ in the maternal cardiovascular system. And so it's really vulnerable again to alterations in blood clotting, glycemic control, inflammation, vascular integrity, blood pressure, and kidney function. And it's everything pregnancy. And it's so sensitive to any metabolic or cardiac issues. So any abnormalities in that first trimester of placental development will increase the risk of miscarriage, and also preeclampsia, intrauterine growth restriction, and placental retention at birth. So next step is, how could we maximize the chance of a successful implantation? So the health of the endometrium is one of our main considerations. So some really cool key health and lifestyle factors that can influence this would include glycemic control. A woman's blood sugar levels can significantly influence whether or not this process is successful. And a developing embryo does not like big sugar highs and then dumps and then highs and dumps. It's really, really not good for them. It can be quite devastating, and it can affect the blood vessel integrity, which we talked about just before. So you really want, ideally in the lead up to pregnancy and also in the first, trimester particularly, focus on a really low glycemic diet. So basically, no to very low sugar and refined carbs to help and really keep those blood sugars as even as you can. The quality of your dietary fats are really key as well. So we can help to mitigate runaway inflammation by making sure that mum is having good quality fats like omega-3 and monosaturated fats, and minimal amounts of what we call pro-inflammatory fats, so they encourage inflammation, like excess saturated fats, lots of omega-6, vegetable oils, and grain-fed meat. You need some omega-6, but you really ideally want to be omega-3 dominant, not omega-6 dominant in your diet. Try and avoid endocrine disrupting chemicals. These are found everywhere, but cosmetics, cleaning products, plastics, all that kind of stuff. And even a minimal exposure can disrupt the estrogen and progesterone signaling pathways and prevent implantation. And another big one is to try and avoid advanced glycation end products. So they're usually found on the surface. For example, a classic one is your burnt barbecued meat or proteins. So the way to reduce that in your cooked protein is really to marinate first in an acid base like lemon juice, wine, or vinegar to reduce their production, and just don't eat black charred food, essentially. And then another really important thing is mitochondria. Can you guys remember from school, those little cell drawings with the little squiggly things on the inside? Our mitochondria, the powerhouse of our cells. So mitochondria generate the energy our cells need for ovulation, fertilization, and implantation. Growing evidence also suggests that the potential for an embryo to be successful is related to the ability of the egg cell's mitochondria to generate energy. And if we take that another step further, imagine the sperm does manage to penetrate the egg, but then the first job for the egg, and it's very busy mitochondria, and classic kind of female situation possibly as well, is to tidy up any damage to the sperm. So that's the first thing that happens. And then any damage to the egg has to be tidied up. And then only after that, if we've got any cellular or mitochondrial energy left over, can it go on to divide as it should. So again, it just really emphasizes how important having really healthy eggs and sperm are for a healthy conception, and again, to help reduce that miscarriage risk. There is an age-related decline in mitochondrial function and mitochondrial DNA copy number, as well as a higher risk of mitochondrial DNA mutations for both men and women. So anything we can do to preserve mitochondrial function will ultimately slow down ovarian aging, improve the health of sperm, and ultimately generally support fertility potential. So here's some foundational ideas on how to support mitochondria and fertility for both partners. So try and keep your blood sugar stable, okay? Regular moderate exercise, and try and avoid environmental toxicants. And honestly, all of those things are a massive topic just in of themselves. It's really a good idea to measure inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and address drivers of chronic inflammation like elevated blood sugars, gum disease. Always good idea to have a dental checkup, ideally before you get pregnant. And please do not remove amalgam fillings in the preconception or times when you're pregnant. And also leaky gut. And honestly, there's so many things that the list just goes on and on and on. Focus on a nutrient-dense diet with lots of mitochondrial power foods like avocado, almonds, blueberries, slow-cooked red meat if you eat meat, and eat in peace, not in front of the TV or the computer. Sit down to eat, and if you've got people to eat with, sit and chat and make it a social occasion. Try and aim for a good 8 hours of sleep each night, and try and be in total darkness so there's less disruptions, and ideally be asleep before 11 o'clock at night. And then there's also lots of supplements like coenzyme Q10, N-acetylcysteine, resveratrol, lipoic acid, melatonin, curcumin, green tea that can be really helpful. And testing. So I try the best we can with my clients to get a thorough range of blood tests done, hopefully with the support of their specialist or their GP where we can. They're done for both contributing partners, ideally, and sometimes there are a few things that you might have to self-fund because it is getting a little tricky to get a lot of them across the line these days. Identifying these factors I find is so valuable. And the longer I do this work, I see, it hurts when I can't test everything because I know I could be missing something really important. But, for people who have experienced multiple miscarriages, it can really, really help to pinpoint the underlying issues and also to help guide, of course, our treatment strategies. So we're looking at identifying various factors like any hormonal imbalances, any genetic abnormalities, clotting disorders, any autoimmune issues, and any other medical conditions that could be contributing to recurrent miscarriages. And addressing the underlying factors can really help to improve the chances of a successful pregnancy in the future. And while the process of doing all this can be really challenging and emotionally draining for couples, it's quite an important step in their pathway or journey towards parenthood. Working closely again with your specialist, your GP, and your herbalist or naturopath to really ensure a comprehensive and individualized approach is essential to get you guys the best possible outcomes. And most people do find it empowering, and they feel like they have a bit of a sense of control again over things. But just like with everything, there's highs and lows. And then I guess, and just to finish off, there's a couple of quite useful books that if you want a bit more background reading as well, there's a book called Create a Fertile Life by Gina Fox and Rhiannon Hardingham, which is a really, really beautifully written. It's really easy to follow, and just got lots of good lifestyle and dietary advice and things like that. It's probably one of my favorite books that have come out in this area. And then for anyone with insulin resistance, polycystic ovaries, struggling to lose weight, or diabetes, anything like that, having a wee look at the Glucose Goddess, following her on Instagram, or have a look at her book Glucose Revolution as well, because she's got some really cool tips that are quite simple and easy to follow, but they can make I have seen a lot of people they've made a really big difference for. So that's probably me for tonight. If you've got any questions, throw them at us and we'll have a wee chat.
I'm going to invite Melanie to come back at this point too, because there may be a question for either of our presenters tonight. Jo, while we wait for Melanie to come back on board, we've got a question here. My mum experienced recurrent miscarriage. Does that mean I will too?
Not necessarily, no. But it's really good to, again, if mum had any idea as to the why, because she may have had some clotting disorders, or she may have had autoimmune things going on, and that, and then you can check for those things as well. And so it's kind of like being a bit, rather than being in the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, you can be kind of up the top and being a bit proactive and trying to see if there's anything that could be a factor, and then we can address that, and reduce those risks for you.
That's great. I've got a question there for Melanie. She may have dropped off, unfortunately, but that's okay. We'll come back to that one if she comes back. Here's another one. Does the man's age increase the risk of miscarriage?
It can, yes, because there's more DNA damage and oxidative damage to the sperm. So yes, definitely. And it's, as I said earlier, it's kind of a 50-50 thing with miscarriage. It's, I think we all think because the woman managed to get pregnant, then a miscarriage is a female issue. But it's, the research is getting stronger and stronger around, the fact that men are involved, I guess, as well. And, about 50% of miscarriages are due to male factor.
Thanks, Jo. Another one here. What happens with the one-on-one support with SANS? How does that work?
So how that works is that, I guess, people get in contact with us in a variety of ways. So often we will have midwives who will make contact with us and say, I've got a client who has had a loss. Would you mind giving them support? So often they'll give us their details. But if their health professional hasn't made contact with them, then you can contact us directly through the information that you find on our website. Because I think often it's when you are in the midst of your grief, it is really hard to reach out and ask for support. So I often find, there might be a phone number there, but it's hard to actually make that call. So often I find a text is a really good way of messaging us, and then that gives us your information, then we can give you a call. And what that is we would normally give you a call at a time that suited you. And we would probably start by explaining about what SANS is, and then go from there, which would normally be, tell me about what you're going through, tell me about your loss, and then it just very naturally just flows from there, because about 99.9% of our volunteers are bereaved parents themselves, so we feel very comfortable in talking about baby loss. So and then there are other options where we can talk online with you, or meet one. Sometimes it's a bit hard to talk over the phone, so sometimes meeting for coffee somewhere one-on-one, that can be a really nice way to have a chat and be supported.
Thanks, Melanie. Now somebody else says, I found the medical side of things really helpful. Thank you. So that was just a comment there. Are there resources for talking to my work? I found that really hard. Does anybody have any assistance with that one?
Yes. That is a hard one. And so I think probably the best place to start would be if you look on the Whetū Rangitia website. So that'll give you all the information about anything that relates to work. So, for example, if you experience a loss, if you experience a miscarriage, you're entitled to 3 days bereavement leave, but there are certain criteria that you have to meet. So that's really good. Like, you find all that information on that website. In terms of talking to an employer, as an employer myself, I think if you are just open and honest about what has happened, and most people will be really supportive of what you are going through. You can have that 3 days bereavement leave. It might be that you want to use, some annual leave or some sick leave, because it is really hard to go back to work when you've had a loss. So I think it's being open and honest with your employer and telling them what's happened, what is the best way to support you, you know, and they may have support at work that they are able to give you as well. But I would definitely start by having a look on the Whitu Rangitia website for information about loss and workplace.
Thanks, Melanie. It sounds like there's a lot of resources and amazing information on their website, so that's awesome. Another work-related question has just popped up. I have a stressful job. Does that mean I would have a higher risk of miscarriage? Jo, maybe for you, that one?
That's a tricky question in a way. It possibly isn't ideal. And I think, because your cortisol levels could be high or really low, depending on how long the stress has been going on for. So you can never say definitively, but it's probably not helpful. And it's just possibly putting some strategies in place to help manage the stress. If you can't change the workplace environment, then it's about trying to find some strategies that will work for you to help, mitigate the stress of that.
Thanks, Jo. Another one here is, why do I have to have had 3 consecutive miscarriages before I get a referral for further testing? That's a tough one, isn't it?
That's because that's what the medical system say. I'm not sure. I don't know the why. I suspect. I mean, I struggle with this concept personally, because I just don't think anyone should have to go through 3 miscarriages to get investigation. And maybe it's because miscarriages are common, and for it to warrant the funding that it costs to do the testing, I suspect that's probably what's behind that. Unless, Mel, have you got anything more to add to that?
No, like my first thoughts was funding, to be honest, would be my why they're doing. And it's awful, because if you've been through 1 or 2 miscarriages, it's absolutely heartbreaking, and to have to then try again and for that to happen again, it seems cruel, doesn't it?
It is, and also as you're getting older, it becomes even, I think it's worse, because you can lose 6 months a pop, and if you're 39, 38, 39, 40, it's, it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah. Let's come to the end of the questions that we've got here. I'll just give a final chance for any more to pop up. And just while we wait, I just really wanted to thank you both for your time tonight, and for the consideration and thought and emotion that's gone into your presentations tonight, and also just the work that you do. It is so valuable and so appreciated by our community and the wider community out there. A big thank you for your time, and also just I also just want to thank our webinar sponsor. Merck is our sponsor that helps us to provide these webinars each month to our community. Please do keep an eye out for our webinars. Our next month's webinar is on communicating around donor-built families, and that's presented by Professor Ken Daniels, who has dedicated his decades of his life to the research in this area, and is sure to be a really incredible webinar as well. So thank you again both so much, and I hope that everybody out there that has joined us tonight enjoys the rest of your evening. Thank you so much.